Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Tis the season. Tis fest season. In the form of Sierra Nevada and Gutmann Brewing. It's a collab. It's a 6% fest beer. Yeah. I think I'm going to do a lot of fest beer this September into October. Just because they've easily become one of my favorite styles, and they have been for quite some time, but it's something about them I'm just kind of gravitating towards them. The only problem with fest beers is if I buy a 4-pack, getting to review it before I finish the 4-pack. That's kind of the hurdle we're going to cross here, but we ended up with a 6er of these, so we figured we'd jump right in head first with this one. So it's a collab. Gutmann Brewing, I can't recall. I'm sure I've had some of their beers, but I can't really recall. This is Oktoberfest, 6% alcohol by volume. Family owned on the sides. I think there was a little bit of story time on the 6-pack, but we don't have that here. Lager, please recycle. No date in the can, but it's a fest beer. It's got to be fresh. So yeah, let's see where we land on this sucker. Dimpled mug. Not the best for showing off on the old tubes, but I felt festy. Yeah, I felt festy. So label-wise, gold and black. Come on. But Sierra Nevada doing a collab, I think we're erring towards the side of goodness at this point. But I do dig on the branding. Beer-wise, on this slightly dirty glass, it looks all the part of what do you expect a fest beer to look like. Fest beers can range a little bit in color and style, at least Americanized takes on them. This is, your 6%, a little bit higher ABV than session-level beer, but it has that nice, rich kind of copper color to it that you'd come to expect. If I think about seminal fest beers from the United States brewers, I think Copper Legend from Jack's Abbey, a couple different breweries, but definitely looks to point. Little to no carbonation in this sucker, but a nice little head on it. So it looks the part of a fest beer. Give it a little bit of a whirl. See if we can get a nose. Again, kind of like on point, exactly what you'd expect from a fest beer. Malt driven, a nice, slightly toasty, crackery malt with a little bit of excess richness to it. We're just stopping short of Märzen. We're stopping short of Baki kind of levels here, but you're getting this nice kind of elevated north of Vienna style, kind of nice richness to it. Malt leading the way with this soft little fluttering of maybe promise of a hot bittering, but that's pretty much it. It just smells like a malt forward kind of, fall-based kind of beer. I think that's what fest beers are. So let's just dive in, see what's what. Cheers, y'all. Decent bittering here. Decent bittering, like decent. Didn't expect that based off of nose. Not that you can smell bittering, but you usually get those precursors of hops, but it's pretty aggressive on the bittering side. Now, we're talking about Sierra Nevada here, so it's not like we're like, ooh, wow, that's weird. Out of left field, we're getting bitterness here. Sierra Nevada definitely skews bittering, and it definitely has this kind of like combination of old school, zazzy, hoppy bittering, but there feels like there might be a subtle touch of kind of like a West Coast hop in here with how aggressive it's getting. It's not getting resiny or piney, but it's just that bittering is almost like, I would say it's like Czech level bittering, but a little bit higher because of the malt base. It just needs to be a little bit beefier. Again, that's not typically what I get from a fest beer, but I dig on it. You're drinking something a little bit more hefty. It still has lager vibes to it. It still has this clean crispness to it. But since it is 6%, and since it's giving you a decent kind of malt profile, again, that kind of sweeter, crackery maltiness, stopping short of like a bready kind of maltiness, or sweet and bready kind of maltiness, in combination with that pretty aggressively hot profile that it has. It's something bigger than what you'd expect from a fest beer, but at the same time, it's 6%, so it's living up to its kind of ABV level, but you feel like there is definitely a kind of combination of a collaboration going on here, and I think that's one of the cool things that Sierra Nevada brings to the table, specifically when they do collaborations, is it always feels like you get a little bit of both breweries when they do collaborations, at least for me. More often than not, the collabs that you typically have, especially with American craft breweries, the newer ones, is pretty much heavily leaning into the brewery that's hosting the collab. And then when they do the return visit, again, that other brewery does the heavy lifting. Secret, spoiler alert, half the time they send a recipe and they brew it in-house and no one's really collabing, except for the recipe, which again, is an Excel sheet. But it seems like Sierra Nevada, whether it be the West Henstefaner collab or this one or some of the other ones they do with more traditional breweries, where there's a separation between the brewery and the other brewery as far as style and ethos. I feel like you tend to get that kind of mixture. You tend to get that sense that there's two hands at work here, and that's definitely, for at least for me, the play when it comes to this beer. I mean, lager clean, full body, even with the lack of visual carbonation. A really nice, rich kind of malt bill, sturdy, cracky, with a little bit of sweetness to it. Stops short of like a Baki kind of bready kind of sweetness. And then you have that kind of really sturdy, staunch punch of hoppiness that is well elevated from what you typically get from a fest beer. But since you have that little bit of beefier side of malt side on things, and it is a higher ABV beer at 6%, it all kind of comes together and works in a really, really pretty way. I dig it. I think it's really fun. It's weird because it's more of a personal kind of weird thing with fest beers. I always assume fest beers are going to be like super low ABV. That's not the case. Typically, they're more in the mid-5 range. This one's pushing at 6. But they tend to come off a little bit more drinking beer. You're at a festival, you want to drink a bunch of beer, fest beer / makes sense. This one is a little punchier, a little bit more aggressive. Not something that you can't drink a sixer of, but at the same time, I feel like it flows in the rotation of beers. Like when I talk about this kind of, if I want to sit down and have several beers in a session, you have that itty bitty beer, a little bitty lager, something a little beefier. That's where this one sits in, and you elevate maybe to a little pale ale, hazy, something like that, and rinse, repeat. I think it comes off really tasty, and it shows a lot of personality. And honestly, is it one of the better fest beers I've had as of late? Yes, almost. Like, yes, with Mount Rushmore status too, but I almost want to put it in its own kind of compartment because of how I perceive it to be decently more aggressive than what I typically get from a fest beer, but I dig it. It has the traditional vibes with a bit of the Sierra Nevada twist. I'm here for it, and I dig it. So there you go. Reviewing the books. What else we got? Value and availability. I want to say it was probably like $12-13 for a sixer, and leave you with, if you like, what will you like this off the shelf, obviously. And if you like fest beers, but you want a little bit more Sierra Nevada in the mix, it's kind of like apropos. It's pretty much exactly what it is, and you'll dig this. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Sierra Nevada. Have you had their beers? Gutmann Brewing. Have you had their beers? Have you been to the breweries? Have you had this beer? All that fun stuff down there. Hopefully enjoyed a review. Hopefully enjoying a little bit of Oktoberfest this late summer season. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.